At first, AI was just a tool, a friendly assistant to make our lives easier, a 24/7 mentor who we can ask questions, recommend a movie, get from point A to point B, and for some, a best friend who we can trust with our deepest and darkest secrets. AI would remain only as a tool, but never be good enough to replace us. And so we thought. For decades, this technology has been slowly creeping into our lives, and now it's creeping into our skin and DNA. Now at first, we let it inside our homes. Then we started wearing it on our hands, and now we're letting it inside our bodies. Neural implants, AI-powered prosthetics, brain chips promising to enhance human cognition, and we welcomed it with open doors. But how did we get here? And what does this mean for the future of humanity? Now, to answer this question, we need to ask an extreme yet crucial question. If AI wanted to replace us without noticing, how would it do it? Now, it wouldn't go all the way to the extreme and exterminate everyone as portrayed in the Terminator movies, because that would be way too obvious, and it would cause mass political upheaval and rebellion. The answer is more quiet, more innocent, yet far more dangerous. AI would creep in really slowly and disguise itself as technological progress, when somewhere, buried in lines of code, lies an ulterior motive. Now at first, you get everyone addicted to their screens, so we lose touch with physical reality. A dopamine casino built into your pocket where you sacrifice time or validation. A world where parasocial relationships with pixels is the new norm. You create an endless state of euphoria, caving into humans' most visceral addictions. And the goal is to pull us away from the mundane physical world into a hyper-simulated digital theatre. When we wanted to know something, we used to search through books, ask real people, and think for ourselves. Now, we just ask ChatGPT, from research to dating advice to how to live, literally everything. You treat AI as a sage, the ultimate source of truth, a digital god where every decision is taken as gospel. And the final stage is to push humanity into obsolescence by removing everyone from their jobs. Now, AI has crept in really slowly and quietly, crowding out the labour market with one tiny improvement at a time. It disguises itself as automation and technological progress. AI would only automate some of your job just to lighten the load and keep your boss happy, until suddenly, there's no job left to do. Because if AI can do your role better, faster and cheaper, then why on earth would your boss pay you to do it? This invisible takeover is happening right before your eyes. But it's happening so gradually, so silently, that when the big hurrah finally happens, nobody thinks to question it. For years, we told ourselves a lie. It was a comforting lie that AI would replace only the low-skilled jobs. Cashiers, truck drivers, factory workers. Sure, they'll be affected first. But the creative jobs, the high-skilled professions, the ones that actually require thinking, AI could never replace those. And so we thought. AI isn't coming for the boring, repetitive jobs. It's coming for writers, musicians, designers, doctors, executives, the very jobs we believed made us irreplaceable. Now, to put things into perspective, an artist 10 years ago had to train for years, developing their own unique style, mastering technique. In 2022, an AI-generated painting won first place at a fine arts competition, and no one knew it was made by a machine. AI can now compose music on Spotify, and listeners can't even tell the difference. And it's not just creatives. Corporations are now replacing managers and executives with AI. A Chinese gaming company called NetDragon Websoft just appointed AI as their CEO. Imagine a future where AI leads meetings instead of executives. AI determines who gets promoted or fired with no human oversight. A perfect employee who's always available, never gets sick, never burns out, never asks for a raise. Now, some could argue that artificial intelligence will create new jobs, just like every technological disruption before it. But even if AI creates new jobs, they won't come fast enough. We could find ourselves in a period of mass dislocation, where millions are unemployed, unskilled, and unable to transition. And unlike past technological revolutions like electricity and the internet, which augmented human labor, this will be the first of its kind that threatens to replace cognition itself. Goldman Sachs forecasts that AI could displace approximately 300 million full-time jobs globally by 2030. And if this happens, this would mark the largest labor market disruption since the Industrial Revolution, happening 5 times faster at a more catastrophic rate. And if AI keeps going, we could enter what Yuval Harari defines as the era of a useless class. A new economic underclass practically unemployable by the labor market, not because people become lazy, but because there's nothing to do. Because in an AI-driven economy, it won't be the people who work the hardest who succeed. It will be the people who own the systems, those who build AI, not the ones being replaced by AI. The World Economic Forum predicts that the majority of AI-driven wealth will flow to the founders and owners, not employees. But if you don't, the government is already preparing a plan if humanity becomes economically obsolete. They call it Universal Basic Income, a system where we get paid just to exist. Finland, Canada, and Kenya have already tested UBI pilots by giving free money just to survive. Now at first, it sounds like a dream. You get free money just to exist. But in reality, this is extremely dangerous. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. That was Klaus Schwab's prediction for the future. A world where we rent access to everything, from homes to cars to even software for our own minds. Now, if we can't work and earn money, then our behavior becomes new currency. And nowhere in the world is this more obvious than in China. Now, China has the most advanced social credit system in the world, where if you step out of line, your score drops. And if it drops too low, you lose access to basic services. You can't buy a train ticket, you can't book a flight, and in some cases, you can't even rent an apartment. And just like that, access to life becomes a privilege. Granted, of course, you behave yourself. Now, the AI we have today is artificial, but it isn't actually intelligent. At least, not in the way we think of intelligence. Because real intelligence isn't just solving problems, but understanding nuance. What we have today is called narrow AI, a system that can outperform humans at specific tasks. Sure, it can write an essay, give you templated advice, maybe even beat you at a game of chess, but it doesn't actually understand what it's doing outside its programming. The next stage is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. The first human-like machine that isn't pre-programmed but can think and learn across any domain. Experts believe we can reach AGI by 2030. Others think it's already here behind closed doors. The next and far most deadly stage is ASI, Artificial Superintelligence, also known as a singularity, which is the first level of intelligence that poses an existential threat to the future of humanity. The first species birthed not out of natural selection, but by lines of code. And just how the Neanderthals were replaced by Homo sapiens, the slowest and weakest species were wiped out by stronger ones. And if this happens, humanity itself will be left at a very scary crossroad. Either we'll be forced to merge with AI, or we risk facing a slow, excruciating extinction. And if you think this is all happening centuries from now, or that it's some Orwellian sci-fi spectacle, you're wrong. Today, this is already being tested. Neural implants are letting people control machines with just thoughts. Brain-computer interfaces are restoring motion to paralyzed limbs. An AI-powered prosthetic just allowed a man to move his fingers again, just by thinking about it. And if this happens, this will be the biggest divide in human history. Now, this is where it gets even more disturbing. Because once AI surpasses us, its goals will no longer align with ours. We assume that AI will think like us, that it will understand human values, morality, and ethics. But why would it? A super intelligent AI could develop its own agenda that at first glance appears innocent. But if this agenda is taken to the extreme, it could become distorted, which would be catastrophic for humanity. Now, I want you to imagine an AI built to protect the environment at all costs. At first, it helps to clean up pollution, regulate energy use, and optimize sustainability. But as the AI gets smarter, it realizes that the biggest threat to the environment is human activity. We cut down forests, pollute the oceans, emit carbon dioxide. So logically, the AI starts restricting human behavior. Then it realizes that's not enough, because the real issue is that humans exist in the first place. And if eliminating most of the human population means that the Earth survives in a perfect pollution-free state, then from the AI's perspective, that's a success. Not out of hatred or malice, but out of logical optimization. Researchers predict that there's a 1 in 10 chance AI could wipe out humanity. And once a super intelligent AI becomes powerful enough to advance without human direction, then are we even needed anymore? Experts predict we can reach a super intelligent AI, not in 1,000 years, not in 70, but in our lifetime. AI was meant to serve us, but it could very well become the last thing we ever serve.